All right. So we're going to talk about tolerance today. It's pretty quick and not as important as some of the other topics we're going to do. So tolerance basically means how accurate you have to be, or a way of measuring how accurate your prediction would be. So for example, let's say that you were predicting how much rain there's going to be tomorrow. And you said there's going to be 15 millimeters of rain. All right? That's your prediction. Now the problem with giving a prediction is that's just one number. It's very unlikely it's going to be exactly 15 millimeters. Usually you want to say a range. So a lot of people when they're talking would say a range of like, oh, it's going to be like 16 to 18 or 16 to 17 millimeters, something like that. When we're talking about giving predictions, we like to give one number. So we're not going to do ranges. What we're going to do is we give our prediction of 15, whatever our average is or something like that, and then we say how high or low above that it can be. So what we do is we do this symbol, okay? It looks like a plus and a minus on top, and it literally means plus minus. And then we could say how far off it would be. So in this example, if I said my prediction is 15 millimeters of rain plus minus 1, that means that it could be 15, but it could be plus 1. If it was plus 1, it would be 16. But it also could be minus 1, which would be 14. Okay? So in this case, we would have, oh, it's going to be the highest is 16, the lowest is 14. It's somewhere in between that. Okay? This is just a mathematical way of giving basically a range, something like that. Okay? We also use this expression when we're talking give or take. So if someone said like, oh, how much pizza can you eat? I said, well, I can eat 3 slices, give or take. That's your way of saying it might be a little higher, it might be a little lower, saying that your prediction isn't super accurate. So now, that means if someone gave the weather and they said, oh, it's 15 millimeters plus minus 10 millimeters. Okay? That's a pretty big range. That means it could go as low as 5 or it could go all the way up to 25. That's huge difference. So the bigger your tolerance is, the plus minus thing at the end, the more inaccurate your measurement is. If it's a small number like 1 or 2 or whatever, or 0.5, that is a much more accurate measurement. So this comes up when you're doing stuff like construction. So let's say you're building chairs, right? And then you're like a plastic chair. And it says the thickness of the chair must be 3 millimeters, give or take, plus minus 1 millimeter. So that means you can screw up a little bit. You can make it 4 and that's okay. But if you made it 4.5, that would be outside of the tolerance and it would be not be acceptable. Okay? So let's give an example, kind of a silly example of what you might say in real life. So you're like, okay, how many olives can you eat? Give a prediction. So you're like, well, the most number of olives I could eat is like 35 before I get sick or something, right? But you're like, it's not exactly going to be 35. I think I could plus minus 5, which means that sometimes 30 olives would make you sick, but sometimes 40 olives, so plus 5 would make you sick. So again, it's going to be somewhere in that range. Now, you, using your math skills, are unable to calculate this. Okay, you can't. It's way too complicated. It involves university level probability and statistics measurements. You aren't going to use it. You do need to be able to read it and understand what it means. And I'm going to be honest, the 2 places it comes up the most is in medicine and politics. Okay, so let's just take a medicine example. So let's say that they make this new medicine and they're like, it decreases cancer tumor size by 34%, plus minus 3%. That means that if you're taking this medicine, you're like, well, that means it could be 37% if that's the highest, or it could be, if it's minus 3, 31%. That's what that means. The other thing is that it would say something like 9 times out of 10. That's usually what they say. That means that if they did an experiment, if they took 10 people out of 10, right? 10 people and they gave this medicine, that means that 9 of those people would fall within this range. They can calculate this stuff using, again, complicated university statistics, but you just need to understand what this plus minus thing means. It basically means there's a range, which is what we talked about, but it's a range on your predictions. Okay? That's it.